if we are starting. Welcome, one and all. Welcome back.
And if we're not starting, you can stitch this later.
I'll find a way.
Movie magic.
Welcome back, one and all, to Podstance, the PunkStance podcast. It is me, once again, introducing an episode. Our final episode of the year. There will be one prior to this coming out, I think, tonight, if I'm recording this on a Saturday. We're recording this on a Saturday. It is Saturday, isn't it?
Indeed.
Just have a sip of my cherry coke. Oh, Jesus. But we are doing the first annual tradition of this podcast.
I don't know if you can call it tradition if it's the first time you've ever done it.
It's a preliminary tradition of what we are now proudly calling the Live Show. If you're doing it phonetically and saying it properly in terms of where the emphasis is, it should be live show.
Yes.
So,
even though, arguably, that's just misinformation at its best, because it's only live because we're here recording it live, as most recorded things are, in fact, live.
Yeah.
To the degree of being recorded.
It's more the fact that we're in the same room.
Yeah.
Because when we did our episode...
You like Zoom calls, they work.
They do work.
Yeah.
I only found out recently that when you record it, and then it saves the voice thing... You can just start the call again straight away. You don't have to take a 10-minute break. So I've lied to all my guests.
Yeah, but also having an enforced 10-minute break to be able to,
have a wee.
Exactly.
Have a wee.
I was going to say get a drink, but have a wee.
That is also important, particularly when it's cherry Pepsi.
Are you sponsored or something? Jesus.
I love cherry Pepsi. Delicious. So the general plan...
Back to the show.
I keep trying to get back to it. The general vibe of this particular show, it's the end of year show. This will probably go up on Christmas Day when the advent calendar is finished, and I've done all my posts for the year, all the podcasts have come out for the year, and this will be a summative review of all of the live shows that we have been to together and independently as well. So we will start most likely with talking about the ones we've both been to, which is quite a few. It's like 4 or 5 gigs. You come prepared. You've got a goddamn list on you.
I made a list of gigs I've been to, but we've only done. I think it's only 3 for us 2 this year.
What?
Yeah.
That's embarrassing. I thought we'd done far more.
I mean, I've done.
Maybe they were just weird fever dreams.
I've done a lot this year. Well,
I have a couple
that
I
good ones.
Yeah.
They were very good ones. Don't get me wrong, but we've done a few. We've done quite a few ever. But if we're doing it for the year of 2024,
just this year,
alas, 'tis only 3.
'Tis only 3. Well, we'll still make 2 hours of content in order to make
You've
up.
been to others outside of
I
those
have.
3. I've been to others outside, and this is part of it. If we were only talking about things we've both done together, it'd be a very short podcast.
That is true.
We've got to teach each other about the bands that we didn't see.
That is very true. You're absolutely right. And honestly, I think some of the gigs we've been to this year have been quite sensational.
Oh, absolutely.
Quite surprising as well. I've learnt a lot, particularly about some of my favourite bands, which we will get to. But in the grand scheme, the ones we've been to, me independently especially, have been phenomenal.
Oh, yes.
My favourite type of drug that's not on the black market.
Phenomenal.
It's like fentanyl, but better and not deadly. Phenomenon.
I will take your word for it, you druggie.
I am tired. But I'm really looking forward to this. We've been planning this for... When we came up with the live show, we giggled for about 2 minutes.
Yeah.
Just because of how silly the name was.
You went and pitched it to... Was it your brothers, you said?
I went to a party with my brother in London, and because he has a friend called Tom Smith. And at school,
it's such a generic name. I'm sorry, Mr. Smith.
In order to make it interesting, they called him Tom Smith.
That's quite good.
And so when he heard live show, it was almost like a bond, an instant bond with the name. So he said it sounded very funny, and plus it just makes a lot of sense. I think it's. We are live right now together.
Currently,
in the same room. I am in your flat and I have come to see you. And we've got a microphone. I didn't even bring the goddamn stand holder, so we're like balancing it on a little table. This is how
I blame you entirely. This is on you.
I blame myself entirely. But I'm a professional, and you know what that means?
The show goes on.
We make do. So I'm currently dressed in my pajamas with no pants. I have
He is wearing pajama bottoms for the record.
I am. You're fully dressed. You got your jeans on. You got very funny socks.
I've got socks with Christmas jumpers on
You
them.
got Christmas jumper socks.
But I'm not indeed wearing
That's
a Christmas
whole
jumper.
like clothing inception thing. Like imagine him wearing a jumper that was covered in socks. Like that's how
Someone's definitely made
That's
one of those.
exactly what you're wearing, but the opposite. But you've got your stripy top on. I've got a top that says "Grow into something good," which is obviously in support of the mental health powers that we've had over the years. So big support out there. Well done, and thank you to everyone for listening in general. But we should probably get started with, well, I need a poo.
We've just started. You.
No, I can.
Do you actually? Because we can pause and.
I do actually need a poo.
Oh, well, do you want to pause
I'll
it?
keep it running. I was trying to not edit this, but
Oh, I don't know if I want you to keep it running, because I'm just going to be sitting here sipping Coke like ASMR.
talk to our fans. Get to know them. Drink your drink.
Hello. I don't even know if Nick actually introduced
Do
me.
your own podcast. Like you have like 17 minutes.
Hello, welcome to PunkStance. Gogcast, the PunkStance Godcast. Hi, I'm George. Nick has just abandoned me to go and poo, which I didn't actually expect to happen. Which I've known this man for long enough. I probably should have expected it, but here we are. I have already done one of these, not obviously the live show, but the I was on whichever episode, Mum's Lasagna kind of vibes, and spoke about many bands, none of whom I saw this year. So that's some good continuity, I'm sure. How was your day? Oh, that's so good to hear. I'm just gonna feel like I should have a conversation with you now. Whoever you are, ethereally or otherwise. Hopefully you've had a very nice year. 2024's been a bit weird. It's had its ups, it's had its downs. It's gone really fast towards the end, hasn't it? I was like, this is nice, and then I looked at the calendar and it's the 21st of December, and I'm like, oh my god. I still think it's November somewhere. Oh my god, he's coming back from his poo. I'm saved.
Call it the shrinkter rather than my sphincter, the way I squeeze that one.
Please, dear God, edit this. I pray to you. Don't ever make me hear that again.
What were you saying to the little punklings?
You'll find out when you re-listen to this, which I'm assuming you will do at some point before you post it.
I undoubtedly will. I edit very, very stringently. I'm going to get my phone out because I need to remember exactly where we started. Because if we do it chronologically, I believe your gig was first.
Right, so how do we want to do this? And this is something, if anyone ever wants to, I don't know if you've got an email or anything, or just message you on Insta. If anyone has any suggestions of how to make this better next year, message Nick. Don't message me. Message Nick.
Let me
message PunkStance.
Let me know on the PunkStance Instagram, or alternatively, you can send me an email. That's like I'm at work. Send me an email at punkstance@outlook.com, because if I use Gmail, stuff will go missing.
But the main thing is do we want to do this chronologically from the beginning of January to now, or would you like to do it, let's do the bands we did together, and then we'll go on to solo bands and who we did. How would you prefer this?
I think because it's a year summary.
You want the
I
chronology?
think it'd be good to do it chronologically.
Right, my first gig was Valentine's Day.
That's cute.
When was yours?
My first gig, if I remember correctly, was all the way back in May.
Well, May was probably our one together.
That is correct.
So I've got a few then before then.
Well, why don't you get us started? Because you're much more avid in the live scene than I am. If anything, I think you've taken me to more gigs than I've been to.
Well, yeah, most of them were in Southampton this year. So.
That is true. Hence, that's where we used to go to university. I could dox you. We're in Southampton.
It's a city. Good luck to them.
Yeah.
I'm not important. This is your show. I went to see Ryan Mack.
Wow.
Ryan Mack, and he had the warm-up of the lovely Robert Grace.
Very interesting.
And that was on Valentine's Day.
They just sound like two blokes.
They are, in fact, two blokes. They are two Irish blokes, and they are lovely.
Yeah.
They have such wonderful stage presence, and they just seem like really nice chaps. You know when you get the vibes from someone and you're like, I reckon you turn up to your mother's house on a Sunday and bring a bunch of flowers with you because you're just a nice gent. They both give those vibes.
That is quite cute.
They have a lot of songs that are absolutely fantastic, and I also feel like if I go too in depth in it, we will literally be here for hours. But
that's the idea.
I have seen Ryan Mac many times before. He has some absolutely standout songs. Would absolutely recommend a listen if anyone's at all into people with Irish accents or kind of more poppy pop punk vibes. I would say it's touching or more on, but it's barely touching punk. It's very more
touching punk.
Touching punk. You when you're about to go for a poo.
Me whenever I need to feel loved. Time to hug myself. I am touching punk.
But Ryan Mac, absolutely fantastic. Would have seen him before. I've actually seen both. I saw Ryan Mac again. He was my first and last. Penultimate. Well, not penultimate. He was 2 gigs this year. Amazing. Absolutely love Overwhelmed. It's a fantastic song, which I'm fairly sure is his remix based off I think it's Royal and the Serpent did it first. I don't actually know. We can fact check that later. Edit that if I'm wrong, please.
I am fact checking now. Was it Overwhelmed?
Yes.
Overwhelmed, Royal and the Serpent.
I think it's Royal and the Serpent did it
You
first.
would be correct. Yeah. Overwhelmed from 2021, Royal and the Serpent. You are correct.
Absolutely fabulous. What a man, what a voice. As I say, just a really, really happy bloke, really nice. Robert Grace, never heard him before. He was the warm-up act on Valentine's Day. Turns out they're mates. They write songs for each other. What I found out later on in the year is that Robert Grace has been in a contract with a record label, and they were all like, boo, because he hasn't been allowed to. If they wanted to collab on songs together, they just all of the rights. Basically, Ryan Mac would lose all of the money from it, and Robert Grace would also lose all the money from it. Just go to the record label. So they just haven't been able to make songs for a few years together, despite the fact that they like making songs together. And so when I went to go and see them later on in the year, they were like, the label deal's finished. Yay! Here's a song we've already made, and just started playing it together. And it was great fun.
Wow. Were there any particular tracks of his? Because I know you and your partner Neve, who has been mentioned previously, she's a major, big ass fan of Ryan Mac.
Very, very big fan of that man. Fantastic. I would say favourite songs, Sleepyhead is one of our favourites, and he got a very good one of I Should Have Stayed at Home. Fun thing about Ryan Mac, completely sober, just doesn't like the alcohol. I always find it really funny when he does his song I Should Have Stayed at Home to a gig and to a crowd of people being like, yeah, going outside sucks and people in crowds are shit.
Go home.
As he sings a song to a crowd of people who are drinking watching him play. I find the irony quite fun. But yeah, absolutely would recommend. And Robert Grace, you will probably recognise if you've been on TikTok at any point in the last however many years, especially COVID-y.
Yeah.
He has quite a few that you might recognise. The big one was Casper. I don't know if you know this. That was the one where he filmed it with his son, and it was basically trying to play this song until my son gets bored of sitting on my lap and starts fiddling with the instruments and ruins the song. And it was just him doing it.
I have not seen that, but that sounds objectively really funny.
Adorable as a thing, because obviously babies, but yeah, it's
not out of context, George. Adorable because babies.
Babies are cute.
Num, num, num.
Other thing for the year, I have a niece now. Very cute. Yeah, no, completely unrelated to music. Ditch that.
This is free flowing, mate.
Well, yeah.
You have a niece now. How does it feel being an uncle?
Weird. It doesn't quite register that.
I know, it's strange.
I can't call my brother a virgin anymore. That's not much has changed in my
Your
life.
dad is a virgin.
Yeah. To music. Leave my family out of it.
Leave my family out of this, Batman.
My next one, I think you will have a bit more to say on, indeed. For my next gig was about 8 days later, and I went to go on my own.
Yes.
Which I have to say, I've not done many gigs on my own. I do tend to go with people, but I went on my own to the Joiners in Southampton to see Between You and Me, who we have seen together previously.
We saw them last May.
2 years ago.
Last May.
2 years.
As in the May before this year.
I thought it was 2022, dear.
It was 20... You are correct.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, time goes quick.
Oh, no, sorry, dear.
No, that's okay.
Yes, 2022 as the warm-up for...
They warmed up for Heart Attack Man, who
Gents.
then warmed up for State Champs.
What a gig that was.
That was incredible.
That was 2022, and this is 2024.
Yeah, the past doesn't exist on this.
And I saw them, but they had Young Culture and Broadside as their two warm-ups.
I was so jealous.
And I went, in spite of you saying you couldn't come, and holy Christ, it was such a good gig.
You keep saying some of the songs that they did, Broadside in particular. You keep saying "Cruel," starring or not starring Brian Butcher of the home team, who wasn't there, but they still did the song.
Yes.
You said was what was the quote you gave me? Fucking amazing is what you put it as.
That'll do it. Dazed and Confused. I've even written on my notes as one of my highlights for that gig. Dazed and Confused as a song.
I love it.
So good.
The other song you've written is Between You and Me's Yeah. So it's just like you've put Yeah, Dazed and Confused.
So yeah, they had very recently released
Shit Yeah. Shit. Oh no, Shit Yeah hadn't come out yet. That was in April.
No. So that came out later, but Shit Yeah has the song Yeah.
Yeah.
And they went, we're going to sing a song called
Yeah.
Hopefully you'll be able to pick up the words, bearing in mind most of the words are
Yeah.
And there was one guy in the crowd, and it was a fairly intimate crowd. You've been to join us, I believe.
It's fair, yeah, maybe like 100 people.
Yeah, max.
And
there was just one guy at the back who just went, yeah. and that was it. The whole song was completely ruined. Everyone was just going, yeah, back at them. It became a chorus. It was fantastic. We love it.
That's just
that's why that's written there.
That's such a quintessential British response, just
honestly,
to ruin the song of these Australians.
Honestly, there's quite a fun thing of Brits at concerts of just like, we'll get onto one of those later.
They're so funny.
To be honest, fairly soon, but we'll get onto one later. It's just Brits at concert always makes me laugh when you get American bands or bands from other countries who come over and they're like, oh my fucking god, this is what they're like.
Yeah,
they're just like,
I think the expectation of seeing a British crowd is completely antithetical to the way that we act.
Yes,
like the number of bands.
British people in isolation are fairly stereotypical, I would argue, and then British people in a crowd become
rampant.
Like
when we get to one of the final gigs of the year that we joined, we've got a lot of stories for that.
How would just be like, here's a surprise tool we'll use later. Like,
foreshadowing is a literary device. Well, speaking of English, obviously the song "Yeah" isn't very lyrically complex.
No,
but I imagine the crowd was quite ramped up with someone yelling "Yeah!"
The thing is you've got everyone ramped up from two fantastic warm-up acts, and then you've got and then when you have a song that is new and they're excited to play it, there's no like, oh, here's one of our old ones that we're kind of a bit bored of. It was, here's a brand new one, and everyone already knows all the words because there's basically one word. Everyone was really happy. Like, can you imagine if they released Tequila nowadays, like today, and everyone would be mad, being like, I want to see that live because it's a song you can sing along to.
Wasn't there the guy that recently did like Americans Got Talent that went on and did Tequila the song, and he just stood there and waited for the whole song, and he goes, Tequila, and then everyone got up and cheered. Yeah, that was
best karaoke song out there.
Oh, easily. Well, it's so easy to learn. Well, what about Young Culture? Because you always thought that Kinda Over It was was not by them, but also by them.
No, I always think in my head that Kind of Over It, I always assign it to Broadside because I heard it so well at gig.
Yeah.
And it was their last song, and then Broadside came on fairly quickly after, and it just kind of merged a lot, that concert.
Okay.
But the other reason is I wasn't as familiar with Young Culture when I went to that gig. I'd revised Broadside, I'd revised Between You and Me, I knew what I was going into. Young Culture, I dropped the ball, I won't lie, sorry if you're listening. I dropped the ball, I won't do it again, I promise. You were fantastic. And also, seeing you at the merch stand after, you were just, again, a bunch of lovely guys.
They do seem really chill.
They were just so nice. They were like, well, we're here, this is great fun. Yeah, there's honestly...
Wasn't it their first UK tour? Was it their first UK tour?
I don't know if it was their first. I remember it being like I think it was their first time in Southampton at the very least.
Maybe that's
But I don't know if their first time in the UK. They were just... Honestly, so many bands this year were just really nice people from the looks of it. And I don't know, they might be really horrible people behind closed doors, but they just give all the bands I saw this year gave the vibes of just being really lovely.
And chilled out.
Yeah.
That's what we like.
Everyone was just happy to be there. And that's really what you want. You don't want... I mean, possibly except for the one that you foreshadowed earlier.
We'll get to that.
But there's nothing quite like watching a band and when they're having a good time, it makes you want to have a good time. And because if they've got the hard job, you just sit there and scream and sing your heart out and hope that nobody's listening to you because they're far more better at singing than me. Well, that was English, I'm sure.
Far more better. That sounds like a pretty...
It was so good. That was such a good gig.
And then you had a bit of a gap.
I had a bit of a gap.
You're an avid man for...
Well, I've done 2 in February, and then the next one, I've got 3 in May.
God. One of which I can actually get involved in.
One of which we can finally get you involved in.
Yay!
When was your first one was my one.
That is correct.
Hopefully you've got some more after that, otherwise this is just going to be me talking for a long time.
I do have a few, don't worry.
But my next one was Bears in Trees, who had The Happy Fits and Lexi Carroll as their warm-ups.
Oh!
Now, Lexi Carroll... was someone I'd never heard of. I'm going to be honest, they didn't make as big an impact for me as any others. We got there a bit late, didn't hear the whole thing. Is what it is, I'm afraid. That's the joy of going to gigs in London and having to get a train after work. But the Happy Fits are one of the greatest bands I've seen live this year, and they were just the warm-up.
I know, it's such a surprise sometimes when you have opening bands that really like...
Once again, so happy to be there. Have you ever seen a man dance with a double bass?
I haven't.
He had it, I believe it was a double bass, I don't know my instruments very well to be fair, but he had it was massive, strapped around his neck, and he was basically wearing it in front of him, playing it.
Yeah.
And he was just dancing, and by dancing I mean he was waddling around with the biggest smile on his face, having such a good time. And it was infectious, because I came, after they finished, I realised my cheeks hurt just from, like, smiling and laughing so much at how happy the Happy Fits were. It's a very apt name, I got to give them that.
Were they really fit?
Like muscular and or like hot damn?
Yes.
I don't know. Wasn't paying attention.
Because if they're happy and they're... Well, it's fits plural, isn't it? Can you be more than
They
one?
weren't having seizures.
Okay, that's fine then.
So not that.
They were the happy standing up people who were healthy.
Yes.
That doesn't have a ring to it as well.
I can see why they didn't call themselves that.
Yeah. But hey, you know what? If they're happy, then you're happy.
Yeah.
And that's the main thing.
But they had some excellent songs I would recommend. Too Late. She Wants Me to Be Loved.
It's Too Late, the one that you missed.
No. Shush you.
That's my joke for the day.
Hold Me Down was excellent.
Yeah.
Just fantastic. Just the whole way through.
I'm sensing a running theme for a lot of these gigs.
Well,
the
thing is that they're not as pop punky and all of that stuff.
So that's fine. I don't mind that.
I'm going through it, and the other songs I've got I've got my 2024 live list. The other one I've got, Mary, was really good. Was very good.
Will you be sharing this playlist across platforms if people want to listen to it?
If anyone wants my live 2024 favourites, you are welcome to it.
I'll figure out a way to get that somewhere.
Why are you talking into the mic this closely?
I was leaning over to look at what you were doing, and it just happens to be in the middle of us.
But yeah, And then Bears and Trees came on. Now, we've seen Bears and Trees before.
We have.
Bears and Trees, again, I'm afraid to say, was 2022? Was it 2023?
No, that one was 2023, because that was when we watched You Me at 6.
Yes, of course, it was 2023.
It was Bears and Trees, The Main, Water Parks, and You Me at 6.
It was such a... I just forgot what year
what
it was. Yeah, it was
what a
2023.
lineup. What a lineup that is.
It was so good. And now, I won't lie, I have a feeling that slightly scuppered my viewing experience this year. Because obviously, we went last year to see them up in Ali Pali, and by the time that The Main had started, who were the second act, people had been pitting so hard that people had already lost shoes and socks.
This is true.
If you remember correctly.
I do recall someone losing a sock.
When I'd gone to Bears and Trees, I was expecting them to kind of be aiming for that vibe once more. However, their new album, which for the life of me I can't remember the name of, which is not going to do me any favours. What's the album called? How to Build an Ocean Instructions. That's the one. It's a very good album. It's a very chill one. Very much not the vibe of this podcast or anything. But if you want a nice chill one, go for it.
How to Build an Ocean.
It's quite sad in general. They tend to go for a bit more kind of sad, slower, not ballads, but to more in that direction kind of vibes.
How does one build an ocean? Do they tell you in?
Well, I can give you the track names if you'd like to, and you will see that it doesn't actually give you instructions. Because the first song is Your Favourite Coat, and then the second song is Things That Look Like Mistakes. So
Injured Crow, I Can't See Anything I Don't Like About You. I'd say these are nice, but nothing to do with oceans.
But Things That Look Like Mistakes is such a good song.
Is it?
Fantastic. Would recommend. I Want to Feel Calm and I Don't Want to Be Angry as a combo. A, two very true things, and B, very good songs. They also did a lot of their original stuff. And so what I was trying to go to earlier was, before when I saw them, I was expecting a bit more, energy, mosh pitty kind of vibes. But obviously, we've just had the happy fits with some very happy dancing, with some very happy instruments. And we suddenly had this, and they went for a lot more of their kind of slower things, and a bit more kind of like, a lot more emotion and feeling, rather than energy and fighting, or whatever you would call a mosh pit. And whilst it was a fantastic gig, I just felt a bit underprepared in that the songs that I like from Bears and Trees are seemingly not the ones they will do when they headline an event. And that's okay. I don't have to like every song, and they don't have to play every song. They play what they want to play. And the vibe was just different to what I expected, was all. Very good. If you're not into mosh pit as much, and you want something that's, going to toe the line but on the safer side, won't blame you.
Do you think almost that the fact that we went to go and see them, and then gave you this expectation of how they were going to act at a gig that they were more involved with?
And when they were then in charge of it, they had a different vibe, which you'd expect. You wouldn't expect them to, they were performing to warm up for some heavier bands.
Yeah.
This one, they were as heavy as they wanted to be, which wasn't as much. And it was a really good one. Although I have to say, for a vibe of the other audience members, it was myself and my friend Ewan who went, the vibe, and I've written here, Olivia Rodrigo in my notes, of normally in between bands, between the warm-ups and the main, the headliner, they'll play, some songs, get people in the mood. The mood was set by the only things they played in between acts was the entirety of the new Olivia Rodrigo album.
Wow.
Cover to cover.
That seems a bit of an oversight. Just the kind of group that are going to see.
If that's the vibe of people you'd be going with if you went to one of these concerts. And again, I think that's absolutely fine. But be prepared for what you're going in for. Don't be like me and think, let's go and have a. I wasn't expecting like full mosh pits, but like bit of energy, bit more. It was energetic, just was not of the vibe I expected. But it was a very good gig.
Yeah.
It had some very good songs.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
I'm not trying to quash Bears and Trees here.
And now you have one more.
One more, and then you can get involved.
I actually get involved.
We'll see how much of this actually makes it in if you are keeping this truly uncut, because this might be ages, because I've just been chatting.
I am not cutting anything out.
Now, the reason that I've done these in this way is A, because this is how time works, and the next one was on the 12th of May, and the first one was, the one previously was the 1st of May. This one I went with my fiancée Neve, and we went to go and see Confetti. And Confetti had the warm-up of Natalie Shea, who I had never heard of, and has actually since has got a decent amount of growth behind her. She's been touring around the south.
Nice.
She was in Sevenoaks not long ago, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And I believe she's got, it's either happened or it will happen next year. She's got a bit of there's like a festival of so I don't want to say this badly, but it's going to come out badly. I think it's like a festival of women. Like it's all female headliners and acts, and but it sounds really good. And if any of them are half as good as Natalie Shea was, it will be fantastic. Load of songs that were just her own, and then she just went, oh well, for anyone who doesn't want to listen to my songs, just played a bit of Paramore. If you need anything to get you in the mood, nice. Paramore will do.
I mean, at least she's quite literally a strong, independent woman.
Quite.
Because she's not with any, is she signed to anyone? I presume not.
Don't know. I have not looked into that bit.
Speaking of that, actually, I will go back to something you said about Between You and Me. Because Shit Yeah, the album, obviously, that Yeah was on, that was their first independent release since coming off of, they're like, I think their current biography says like, another band that's been chewed up and spat out of the music industry. So that was their first independent EP that they did them all by themselves.
But Shit Yeah is such a good EP.
Shit Yeah is so good. The first song has fucking Knuckle Puck in it that I can't even remember the name of it now.
Isn't it Kill My Vibe?
Kill My Vibe. That's a great song. In the Middle was on my advent calendar fairly recently because that's a cracking tune.
Fantastic.
They did a couple of others that I still can't remember. Here we go. Thank you.
Nevermind.
Nevermind.
Amazing.
Every Morning, yeah, and Sad Songs. That was it. Every Morning was pretty good. Decent solo in that one. But there are a fair few singles because I think Kill My Vibe, In the Middle, Nevermind, and Yeah are all singles.
Yeah, Nevermind is one of my favourite songs of the year.
It was. I believe it even came out the year before.
No, it actually did as well. That's why it was in my year 2023 top. That's why.
There we go.
Playlists.
There we go.
That was Natalie Shea. Confetti. I'm absolutely putting as my number one gig of the year.
Wow.
They are.
Were they the really silly people?
They're not really. Well, they are really silly, but in the best possible way. We were in a venue called The Grace in London. Which is a very, very small, intimate venue. There were approximately 35 people there.
You have told me this.
And
I'm going
they
to lean
came
back.
on, and they were the greatest. Like I've been to a lot of bands, and they tend to be like bigger venues. I used to go when I went to gigs originally. I'd be like, Imagine Dragons are playing at the O2, or we're going to Bastille, and it's like the Brighton Dome or something. This was a tiny venue, and they could have filled a much bigger room with how good the music was. Fantastic. I should say, Neve and I have been to Confetti. We've only been to Confetti once. We've been listening for a while. I believe they're actually one Neve found. So, we were standing right near the front, as you'd expect in a 30
little tiny place
person crowd, and they were just so funny. And this is back what I was going to say of Americans enjoying British crowds. They have an entire section where like one of them threatens to get naked, and I think they expected everyone to be a bit like, ooh no, that's naughty, and literally like, should Conrad get naked? And everyone just went, yeah, do it. Get naked. And everyone started shouting, Conrad, get naked.
Dicks
and they were like, we actually planned to like do this bit a few times during the show, and then nearer the end he would actually like, take some of his clothes off.
Get it out.
No, not that much. They were so their whole vibe is that they are aliens from outer space.
Yes.
And so that's their vibe. They are they have blue and green skin. Which may or may not be morph suits, but blue and green skin, and they are wearing like astronaut-esque foil clothes, and it's so fantastic music. All of it, any song they've ever made, amazing. They also have one, and it's one of my favourite songs. It's called Balloons, and it's got such high energy, just makes you want to dance. fantastic. They had a load of balloons on stage, and during the songs, before they were getting up to balloons, there's a bit of like a, everyone knows this one, high energy, let's go. They would, in between gaps in songs, start blowing up balloons and trying to make balloon animals, of which they are really bad at. And I'm fairly sure they made a penis, a snake, and a one-legged dog. As the only things they could make. And they just started throwing out the balloons to everyone. Something that I vaguely knew in the back of my mind was my fiancé can do balloon animals. Didn't think too much of it. Grabs one, makes a dog in about 3 seconds, hands it back to them and goes, "Here you go." And they're like, "Do you want a job? Do you want to come on tour for us and make balloon animals?" And it was like, maybe.
That would be a joyous job to have.
They were so good. And then after the show, they came and they met everyone. They made a point of coming out, meeting everyone, shaking hands. I got there. They had CDs of their set list. So got that signed, and Neve wanted something signed, and one of the things that we had was the meal plan that we'd been making for our food the next week. So there was a meal plan that got signed that is now just in our house, which is quite fun. Such good fun.
And that's what this is all about.
Exactly. I love live gigs because they give you these opportunities that where you go and you listen to these bands and you have these tracks that may not be your absolute favourites before you go, and then when you hear them and you can think back to that experience and how much fun you had and what happened in that gig, who you were with and the memories you make, it changes that song's meaning. Which conveniently could segue into, we went to a gig together finally on the 23rd of May.
It's only taken 38 fucking minutes.
Oh, God. Sorry, everyone, for you having to listen to me for 38 of those 38 minutes.
If anything, I appreciate that, because it just goes to show that, well, A, this podcast isn't about me. This one just is because we wanted to do it and we thought it'd be funny.
Well, yeah.
But the point is that what you said at the end is really resonant, because it's about you gain such an insight and such a new meaning towards songs that you go and see live. Particularly, like when I went to, I think this was 23 as well, when I went to that Neck Deep concert on my own, and they had just released either Shut the Fuck Up, or they had recently, I can't remember what, they were releasing stuff for their new album this year. And being able to listen to that by myself and just being there in that experience with people who want to listen to Neck Deep. That's why they're there. It's not like when you go to the cinema and someone sits next to you with their fucking phone out.
Or eating popcorn really loudly and
have
rustling
paid
sweets.
to be here. Why
just pay attention.
My brother told me a whole story about this, which I'll tell you later. But basically, he sat next to this guy. He watched a film called Queer, which quite recently came out.
That was already out. I thought it was coming out in the new year.
I can't remember the name of the director. It's the same guy who did Call Me by Your Name.
Daniel Craig starring, I believe.
Yes, he is. Gay man in the 50s with a name like Queer. You'd like to think you know what you're getting into.
I don't want to judge too quickly, but I'd like to think that you'd have some idea.
Of what you're watching. Anyway, my brother goes to watch this. Another guy comes in and is just like whinging for most of it. And then his friend comes in an hour later, and then my brother overhears him saying, like, sees the first like gay scene and goes, "Oh, this isn't my thing," and then leaves. It's like, you're an hour into the movie. And then the other guy who was sitting there is just on his phone for the whole time. And everyone was telling them to shut up. But he was like, how could you stay for an hour in a film that's called Queer, then see something that's a little bit gay, and then go, I don't like that, it's not on my screen. Intolerance at its finest. Anyway, don't know why I went on that tangent.
It reminds me, it was like Sabrina Carpenter was getting a load of flack from parents who were taking their children to see the gig, and then there was loads of swearing and, like, you know, the lyrics of songs are fairly explicit.
I think Doja Cat did that as well.
Yeah, and then loads of parents were trying to sue for their money back, and they were like,
you know why you went to this gig?
Like, why would you not vaguely vet the music your children listen to in that sense? Like, if you're going to take them somewhere and it's going to cost lots of money to go and see something live, have a listen first. Well, make sure you're okay paying all of that.
You'd think, but
people. Am I right?
Speaking of,
which is a really good Confetti song called "People Suck," which I'm aware is backtracking, but I've got my playlist up of my live stuff, and it's just,
Sometimes
I don't know how much of these you have listened to, but
not as much as I would like.
Dear God made my top 5 as
Dear
a
God.
confetti song.
Nice.
And, I mean, Robber Bank is fantastic. Ghost is one of their famous. And they also have Song 2 if you want a Blur cover that's really good.
That's quite cute. I know Guilty Pleasures I've listened to about
Guilty
a million.
Pleasure, I'm fairly sure that's the one that Neve gave
on the playlist,
for,
been around a billion
yeah.
times. But then we get the joy.
And then you conveniently go from confetti straight into Friday Pilots Club.
Oh my god!
Conveniently, Nick's actually here. It only took us an extra 4 minutes to get to Nick being here to Nick being here.
Sorry, I went on a huge tangent about people not liking a gay film called Queer. I mean, come on. So, we can actually talk about this because I was there. We met up in Islington, and I think this was kind of like a birthday thing.
It was kind of a birthday treat. We went to Five Guys and ate burgers.
My birthday's in May, and we went on the 23rd. You bought me Five Guys, which was really nice.
I had a burger.
I believe we were both not very well after those Five Guys.
We were very well. I think we were just very full.
Might have been that, yeah. Just...
Although I'm trying to get around the fact of you trying to say you were filled up by Five Guys in London and Islington.
No! He's ruined it! I got filled by Five Guys in Islington. And then we went to the O2 in Islington, as per. And we had the joy of watching Friday Pilots Club, who is a band that you introduced me to a fair couple of years ago. And obviously we'd had Hot Mess.
Hot Mess has been around for a while.
The main song that helped me be interested in them.
Yeah.
They had a couple of other EPs. And then there was the announcement that they were releasing an album this year.
Yes.
Called Nowhere, which I really, really like, but I know you like even more.
Well, I started thinking, I'd go and see Friday Pilots Club because it's got, Hot Mess, Sleeping on the Ceiling, Problem. These are all songs that I really like.
Yeah.
And then they released the album, and I was like, it's pretty good. It's all right. It'll do. I like We Don't Want to Talk. I like Spectator.
Out of My Body was my favourite.
And I was like, that'll do. I've got enough songs. That's enough for me. Nick likes them. What a day out. What a lovely birthday treat we could do.
And boy, was it.
Boy, was it. I should say, Nowhere as an entire album, having now listened to more, having listened to in preparation for the gig, listened to since, it is absolutely my top album of the year. So good. The title track, Nowhere, oh god, it fills me with such energy. It's very much a song to scream in the shower. If I had a car and was able to drive it, it would be one that I could scream to myself where no one else can listen. It's such a
cathartic.
Oh, it's very, very cathartic. Good word. Cathartic song, Nowhere. Out of My Body is just fills me with joy and endorphins.
I remember when we were doing our concert bingo.
We haven't brought up concert bingo.
George introduced me to the idea of concert bingo. In fact, at that Yumi X6 concert,
it is
I believe.
A game of my own creation, which is basically you go to a gig with you can play it on your own, but with a friend, if you can't take a date, take a mate, as there's someone on Food with someone on TikTok.
Food with Todd.
That's the one, Food with Todd, which I love watching those. Either way, you pick 3 or 5 depending on how difficult you want to make it, but you pick songs that you think they're going to play, and if you get all 5 or 3 or all of your songs played before anyone else, you win. So it's always a thing of they've got this really good song, but I know they're going to play it as their encore at the end because it's their biggest song. So do I pick it, or do I pick some of the weirder songs that will happen in the middle? But then there's a risk they won't get played.
There's no guarantee that it'll come out.
Or you play it safe. You pick something, but it's probably going to be I did a Bastille one, and it's you never pick Pompeii. Pompeii's always happening in the encore because it's Pompeii.
Yeah.
Or, for example, I haven't actually written who won, but I did get all 5 on Friday Pilots Club.
I think I may have gotten rid of mine.
But, yeah, I'm trying to look at some of the older ones I've done for a good example. But, yeah, it's basically you want to get your song first, and you can't pick song... If a song doesn't get played, then it just becomes whoever gets the most songs at the end wins. But if all of the songs get played first, it's whoever's all get played first win. So, as I say, it's the debate of, do you pick one that you think is going to be like a big one, and are they going to play that first and open with it? Or are they going to play it at the end and it's encore, but you might lose because someone else? Blah blah. That's concert bingo. I've said it too many times. We play concert bingo. I don't know who won, but yeah,
I'm going to presume you did.
They were my 5.
I don't think so. We had Nowhere, Sleeping on the Ceiling, We Don't Want to Talk, Spectator, and Hot Mess,
which are all songs I've conveniently mentioned before this moment.
Oh, there you go then. That was and I think that was particularly special, that gig, because
I remember the point we were saying was you had Out of My Body on your bingo and it played and you were so vindicated when it played.
I was like, they're definitely going to... All I want is that to play. I don't necessarily care about the rest of the album. I like it, but Out of My Body is a top tune and I want to hear it played live. And I'm so glad that they did, because it wasn't a single, which is why I was a bit concerned. And then it came up like third. It's one of the early songs, and the moment that really got me into it, because they would have played Nowhere first.
They did
to open the whole thing, and then
sure they did.
Probably one of
I think it was Hot Mess was their encore one. I think I snuck that in at the end.
Yeah, so you were lucky, but I don't know if I got all of them. No. But I distinctly remember that being such a great gig.
I also remember Life Support being the nice kind of slow one. Was fantastic. And what was it? No, I can't remember which one it was. It might have been For the Wicked. There was one where they stopped. I thought the frontman, Friday Pilots Club, I thought he was gonna cry, because it was the end, and they were singing, and the crowd was singing back with such...
It could have been For the Wicked.
It could have been, but the crowd was singing back with such joy and volume that I was convinced the frontman was just going to burst into tears, because he was so... I think that was their first UK tour, he says very shakily.
I don't know. Personally.
I don't know, but they seemed... I think it was... If it wasn't their first tour, I think it was their biggest London gig for sure so far, and they'd filled it easily. They filled O2 Islington.
That was a very special one, that one.
I should say, my only other note for this gig, and you know exactly what this means, was the warm-up act was a band called Pleasure Inc. Now... Never heard of them. Look them up on Spotify, and at the time, we're looking Friday Pilots Club. I know it's not everything to go by, but like you say, Friday Pilots Club.
Well, we couldn't find them at first.
A million monthly listeners, and you go, fair enough. And then Pleasure Inc. come in, and they've got about 2,000.
Yeah, and we were like,
who are these guys?
Who are these people? We've never heard of them before. And I have never seen a bunch of weirder men.
They were scarily weird.
Like not in like a very literal scary way, but like just really strange. Like the drummer was also a backing singer, but he looked like a radio DJ from the 80s. Like really big glasses, had like not tracksuit, but he had a tracksuit and a tie, and then a weird like blazer over the top. That was pink.
Their like, pictures on Spotify,
like they're all wearing different clothes in different pictures. So that was the drummer. You had the bassist who just wore a t-shirt that simply said "fit." So with a full stop as well.
With a full stop. So fit, full stop.
He was particularly busy. Then you had the lead guitarist and the front guy who was wearing like an Australian fishing hat.
Did they have the corks or?
No, it wasn't that stereotypical.
Oh no, that hat.
But he had like a fishing hat on, and then also just like a really cool top that I really wanted to know what it was.
I remember you almost tried to find them at the
I
merch
tried
stand,
to hunt
not
down
to buy
the
their
top.
merch. You tried to just go and ask him, where did you get your shirt from?
I really want your t-shirt. And then the guy on the left.
Oh my God, guy on the left.
I have so many questions. He played the keyboard. He also did a few backing vocals. He was wearing the thinnest glasses I've ever seen a man wear. He had the hair of a 9-year-old who didn't know how they like their hair done.
Yeah.
He was wearing a long sleeve that was the coolest thing I'd ever seen, and I desperately wanted to know where he got it from, but they disappeared off. And when he got his tambourine out...
Oh my...
And that is not a euphemism.
Not a euphemism.
When he got his tambourine out, this man had the most energy and the most character I have ever seen on any person in a gig. I swear to God, he must have been on something.
Surely.
Like, he was jumping around, shaking his head, getting, like, angry,
He-
like
as if
visibly
he-
frustrated.
As if he thought he was the tambourine to be shaken.
Yeah, it's like he took over the entire band and just went, right, this is my show now.
It was really hard to watch the warm-up act because I was staring at this guy on the left for the entire time.
That's an ideal. Look at that. So to describe, he's holding the microphone, but from the stand, and just yelling uncontrollably.
I don't even think. Okay, so I should say, I've got their Spotify bio up, and it says I pledge allegiance to the band, which is amazing anyway. But they're a 2021 founded Norwich-based band. They've got two brothers, Johnny Silver and Kenny Pleasures, which sounds like an Austin Powers kind of.
Kenny Pleasures is such a great name.
And it says they take the blueprint of indie rock band and subvert expectations. And then this is the bit: is you've got the bassist is called Burger, which I didn't know. And I'm fairly sure that's Mr. Keys Percussion, who we've been saying man on the left. He is known as the Babyface Killer, and that's Killer spelled Killa. Killer, Babyface Killer.
Babyface Killer.
Now I'm not sure if that means first name Babyface or if that's what, but
BF Kill.
But yeah, they are fantastic, and. That's the other thing, and that's the joy of going to gigs as well, is we went to see Friday Pilots Club, but we came back having seen Pleasure Inc.
Yeah, I think we weren't expecting, because we knew that there'd be an opening band.
But nothing had been released that we found.
We were like postulating about it for the whole time. We were wondering, like, who could possibly... There must be an opening act. It wouldn't just be Friday Pilots Club. There has to be someone opening for them. And even you didn't know.
No, I do my best to check before, because I like to go uninformed. I learned from my first gig, when I said I hadn't listened to enough Young Culture, I've learnt my lesson. I try and get my warm-up acts sorted now.
But
idea.
That was a surprise. A surprise to be sure.
But a welcome one.
But speaking of colourful stuff, would you like another Pepsi Max?
Yeah, I would want a Fanta.
Oh, that's a good call. That's well orange, isn't it?
Yeah.
To clarify, we're drinking softs because it is currently 2 p.m. I would have been drinking softs anyway, but well, cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, that's what we like to hear.
Now, Nick, when was your next gig?
My next gig. That is a bloody good question.
I think it's time you spoke.
Well, what I will say is it wasn't a gig per se. I did experience some form of musical enjoyment, which was when in June and late July I climbed a mountain for charity.
I'm going to let you explain this.
Now, I climbed... Are you also getting a sphincter?
No, I just need a pee.
Oh, right. He's going... There we go.
I was trying to do that subtly and without,
Everyone knows everything on this podcast. But while George goes and empties his bowels, I will tell you a great story about how I climbed a mountain for charity. It was for a charity that deals with kids with brain issues and brain development issues, brain injury. And obviously, considering having started this podcast about mental health and just general health of people, this was something that was very close to me. But the musical aspect of it is, when I was climbing this mountain, I would always have one earbud in, so to speak. And a lot of the songs that came up, some of my own playlists, some from, a variety of songs. The musical element of climbing that mountain, as it were, was the fact that I had an earbud in basically the whole time. And songs that would come up, that's the kind of thing that gets me through an event like that. You're surrounded by people that obviously want to do the same, and you're doing it for charity, and it pushes you to get to the top. But the thing that really kept me going was hearing, like, "You're Still in My Way" by no, not "You're Still in My Way," "Big Blind" by The Story So Far, or the entire album's
foreshadowing as a literary technique.
Or like the entire Bearings album of Not Human. The best thing. I can't remember what it's called now. That's really
Oh,
embarrassing.
that is a little bit, because I know exactly what you mean as well, and I don't remember what it's called.
Best thing about being
Being human.
Oh, I was close. Best part about being human, which was obviously one of my favourite albums that came out the other year. That would come on, and a smattering of others that I could name, but I won't for easier reasons. But that, while not a gig per se, still was heavily inspirational in terms of my year of music, because everything I listened to inspired me and kept my energy up to get up the mountain, say I've done it, get up there to Mount Olympus for charity, and music is a thing that keeps me going.
Yeah.
And it proved that to me. Similarly, when I did my 10K for charity as well. I basically...
Slight shameless plug here, but, I'll let you...
I ran for charity. But I did, and I stand by it. I trained, it hurt, but I basically listened to the full Cold Front album for 1.5 hour, and then put on an easy core mix for the second half, which kept me going. Some Abandoned by Bears, some 4 Years Strong. Oh, stunning. But in terms of gigs, my next one wasn't until like September, I think.
Oh, God. Sorry, everyone. You've got a fair bit more of listening to me now.
That's
It
fine.
also depends. I mean, I would say it's more of a gig than Earbud In on Mountain, but also not, because it was a sausage and cider festival, which delights me to no end to say as a thing, because
that's pretty cool,
sausage
though.
and cider is just barely Noah.
Sausage and... Hey!
Either way, the reason it's here is there were some quite fun cover bands. There was a Queen tribute, there was an ABBA tribute, and there was some. They were very good, but they also had Scouting for Girls and Top Loader.
I know!
Which were quite surprising, I have to say, especially when Top Loader did a cover of Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up, which I have to say was a strange surrealism, being two very strong ciders deep, and then hearing that being like, is Rick Astley here? Like, I don't know what to expect.
I was going to say,
anymore.
because Top Loader I only know for doing Dancing in the Moonlight, as I imagine everyone does.
You'll never guess what their final song was of the night.
I presume it was Dancing in the Moonlight.
It was. Ding, ding, ding.
Ding, ding, ding. Man, I need to
How did we have this for an hour so perfectly, and now it's just going to shit?
I know, it's terrible, isn't it? I mean,
This is us balancing a mic because Nick forgot the stand, in case anyone forgot.
Well, I've got a really long stand, and then I haven't got the stand holder, so we're just balancing it between two books. Because that's how we do it here.
Yeah.
We're makeshift boys.
But the cider festival was a lot of fun. A, because cider, but B, it was the only time I've really done live music with my family. Is your phone weighing that down to the point where it's now integral?
I think a little bit.
Okay, do a little Indiana Jones swap.
Look at that.
Much better. Yeah, no, it's. I don't often see music with my family because I've got very different music tastes to all of them. Bar my brother. My brother will go to stuff, but he tends to prefer rock and more like classic rock stuff.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm more indie pop punk.
Woo!
So, yeah, it was very nice. It was, as I say, a little bit surreal. Singing along to ABBA and then just turning around and being like, oh yeah, my parents are here. I'm not used to this. So that was fun. I wouldn't say it's as formative for, my year of music, but it is always quite fun to get whiplash when I'm listening to my 2024 live favourites and then Thank You for the Music by ABBA comes on and I'm like, huh?
But I guess that's a nice sort of familial thing to have. You spend time with that. Like, most of these are either going to be Neve or me.
Yeah.
So having a slightly different and being able, and that was in middle of summer, June-ish.
Yeah, middle of summer, mid-June. It was just a really nice day out.
And there you go.
Eating lots of food, drinking lots of cider,
and sometimes,
having a nice time with the fam.
Sometimes that's all it needs to be, and it still technically counts as a gig.
I would say it still counts. It's live show, live show.
Yeah.
But it's the point of that one, and I think the reason why I've made a point of keeping it in there, even if I do end up skipping the ABBA songs now and then, because it's not what I would normally listen to. Sorry, Ewan. Is because it was still important as a day to me, because that's, in my mind, also what music is about. Is you've got all of the live experiences of like what songs mean something to you and how their meaning changes as you see it live, but it can also be a very nice social event. That's one of the things I've always liked about it, is when we meet up in London and go to a concert, is
You make a day out of it.
You make a day out of it. You make an evening out of it. You make an afternoon. It's a good time. A good time is had by all, and I don't know. I think it brings everyone a bit closer, especially when you're there and you're like, oh, we actually, we've got this connection, and whether or not you orchestrate that connection by, as we did, choosing to go to a gig and planning it because we know we like the band,
and also on a Wednesday or something.
Yeah, or because it's a Saturday afternoon in Royal Tunbridge Wells, drinking cider in Norland Park, watching an ABBA tribute band. Well, however it is, it brings you close together when you do get to go with people.
No, I completely agree. I think music like that. I mean, I distinctly remember when I was younger. My parents, while not having the same tastes that I do, certainly influenced me. So I remember going to see Keane live.
Oh, I remember you telling me this. Yes.
With my entire family. We were in the top row. I believe it was the O2 in Brixton, if I'm not mistaken. If there is one there,
there is indeed.
I think it was there. We all went together. That was great. My mum's a huge Keane fan. And the first gig I remember going to was this weird outside festival. It might have been at the Hop Farm, I think. And I remember being on my dad's shoulders and watching Simple Minds play, because my dad was a huge fan of them back in the 80s. And but those were family events. I mean, now I still go to gigs with my family. But again,
but you tend to go with your brothers more.
That's a whole other thing that we'll get to in this episode, I'm sure.
In about an hour's time.
In about an hour's time. But that is still, I completely agree. Having that experience of sharing just a music interest, I guess. Just having some... I could have said that better. But having...
Could have done it more better.
Could have done it more better, absolutely. But even if you don't like ABBA all that much, Laura would not be happy.
I feel like you can't not like ABBA when it's in front of you, because you can't help but know the words. Like, it's really hard. It's very uncommon you meet someone and you say, oh, do you know the words to Dancing Queen? And for them to go, no, I don't know what that is.
What is an ABBA?
You'd expect people to be like, yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of ABBA. But if ABBA came on and everyone was singing along, you'd at least know the words. Well, even if you didn't want to join in.
What is ABBA? Isn't that a Pokemon?
That's Abra.
A bra.
A bra.
What's a vagina? Isn't that a state?
I thought you would say, is that a Pokemon? I was like, give it 10 years, maybe.
They'll find a way. Well, I mean, the only other one prior to me getting back involved is So Much Feeling and Honesty, early end for signing.
You're reading the notes, not the band, but it was Tones and I.
I was going to say, that's a long name for a band.
Yeah, no, Tones and I.
Tones and I, with Grace Moore.
Grace Moore. Now, again, unfortunately, Grace Moore didn't get to see the full shebang for, but Tones and I, as an artist, I say So Much Feeling and Honesty. It felt like an apology gig to start with, because she was like, so I tried to do a gig, then COVID happened, then I tried again, then COVID happened, then I tried again, then I was ill, and now I'm here. And apparently there were people who were there, and bearing in mind that this was in July 2024, there were people who had booked tickets to see her in, 2020, and they had been passed on each time. And the whole thing was, she was like, if you were here from the original, thank you for not giving up. I finally made it, finally doing one. And it was, again, genuinely seemed like such a nice person, and so full of honesty, and just was really just passionate about what they were doing. They do have a very angry singing face, though. I won't lie. It did seem very much like anger and fury, and then they'd stop and be like, I hope that was okay.
Oh, thank you so much.
No, and the other bit I've written at the early end for signing was they made a point of finishing the gig a little bit early, so they had enough time to go and do signings and meet the fans and go and say hi to everyone, which is something I think other bands would probably benefit from doing, because it was just such a... I mean, if you don't know Tones and I will say Dance Monkey, and then hopefully you will recognise at least one song. As I would say, that is the definite big one. But Cloudy Day, Never Seen the Rain, Fly Away, Won't Sleep, Eyes Don't Lie. I've got to say, You're So Fucking Cool is probably my favourite, because it is just a song chatting shit about people who think they're too cool.
Yay!
Which I think, again, people can deal with. And also gives me my my token Rihanna song for my yearly playlist,
Yeah, I
which
wondered.
where that came from.
Yeah.
Tones and I basically got about 2/3 in and went, by the way, if you have no idea who I am, and I'm not doing Dance Monkey until the end, I'll do one that, I'll do if I was trying to prove I can sing rather than write songs. And then just did Diamonds by Rihanna, which was very well done.
A surprise.
A surprise to be sure, but a welcome one.
Indeed. It's a running theme with
Yeah.
this one. Indeed. Well,
Now, conveniently, Nick can talk.
yay! Yay, I was avid with this. I was really involved with this one. Having recently gone through my own stress of stuff going on, I'd just done another hike for charity. Man, I need to stop being charitable.
No, don't do that.
No,
that's not the outtake from this.
And having some personal stuff. George mentioned to me. He said, "By the way, I know it's a bit of a trek, but do you want to come and see Honey Revenge and Stand Atlantic in Southampton in like a week?" And I went, "Yeah." So I drove down, literally just for this gig. 2 hours here, 2 hours back. Well, 1.5 hours because there was no one there. And my God, did I need that.
Oh, such good.
My God, did I need that. Going back to people just enjoying their time, the thing that really stood out for me with Honey Revenge is not only that they're a very good band and very up and coming, but also I've never seen people so happy.
Again, it's
to
been
be-
a year of happy music.
They were so... Their bassist, I can't remember the name, or it could have been the guitarist, one of the two, the guy with the ponytail.
Yeah.
He was so happy. Like, I've never seen someone so cheery and genuinely excited to be on stage. It was absolutely insane.
Donovan Lloyd,
Donovan
the guitarist.
you are an icon. You were just so happy to be part of the team. Look at him there, his little face with so much hair.
And then I didn't actually know their names. I am shamelessly on the Spotify bio. I know them as Honey Revenge. But the other half of Honey Revenge, Devin Papadol? Papadol? I don't know how else. I don't know why I'm saying it too many times.
I want pizza
Devin,
again now.
no, not Papa John, Papadol. No. The lead singer, Devin, so much energy. You put everyone else to shame in the crowd. It was amazing.
I was taken aback by just how much energy the band had, and honestly, they've really come up
Now,
in popularity recently.
We've been following Honey Revenge for a little while because we had "Miss Me."
That was their first song.
Was their one of their first songs. Was their first song in 2021. We've had them on our playlist for a fair while. And it's only been recently, obviously, Retrovision came out last year, and then Retrovision extended this year. It's only recently, obviously, they've, started coming. And they actually turned up in one of your previous Podstance, PunkStance playlists.
That is
podcasts.
true. That is true. They turned up in the Slam Dunk special, and most recently in Becca's episode, my brother's partner, because she's a huge fan of... oh god, what's their name? Against the Current, that was it. And obviously, as a female-fronted band, Honey Revenge also came up when they went to Slam Dunk, and Becca just went, "My God, they're so good." I actually recommended her loads of other bands that have female-fronted singers, so I hope that she's enjoyed that. But some of the songs on there, Airhead, we've now got on the playlist.
Was their that was their encore, I'm fairly
Yeah.
sure, because we were really hoping they would do "Miss Me," because obviously it was the one that hooked us at the beginning, but
I don't know
seems
if they-
like people weren't as bothered by it. Rerun, fantastic. Honestly, you can see a lot of these are just saved because they're really good, but are you impressed?
Medicine.
Recipe for Disaster. Medicine was
Medicine
really
we
good.
did, that was excellent.
Worst Apology has become one of my favourites. And then, let's say, Habitual, Seeing Negative, and then Rerun, Airhead. Oh, just amazing.
It's such a strong debut album as well.
It's so strong. I would argue one of the strongest.
I would.
Which, luckily, it came out in 2023, so we can say it might have been from last year, because I'm aware that you've got a different one for your
I have
your one this year.
I have. Well, I can say it now because by the time this comes out, it would have been announced. But the Midfield self-titled debut album from this year, will easily go up there as one of my favourites of all time, full stop. There's no bad songs. I love it. The fact that they're like a new band that have not had any... Like, they've had a few EPs before, but they haven't had very many singles. And then they just pluck this out of nowhere. Like, I didn't even know they were doing an album. They had a few singles, and it just suddenly came out. And I was like, oh my God, they're doing it out. What? So I listened to it. Oh my God.
Now,
I love it.
I've been behind, and you played me a few yesterday.
We had Groundhog Day and South...
Oh my God.
We had Groundhog Day
so good.
and Southpaw. Southpaw's
so good.
my favourite song of the year because it features Goalkeeper, who we love, and also it's just really good. Like, it's the most... I think you said it best. You said, if you could narrow my sound down to
If you were
something...
to say, here's 1,000 songs, narrow them down and find one of them that encapsulates your music taste, it would be Southpaw by Midfield.
It's insane. It's insane how catered it is to me.
Do you think they planned it, by the way, that they've got Midfield and Goalkeeper? Do you reckon they'll get 2 more bands called Attackers and Defenders?
I actually had never thought of that until
Do you think they planned it?
Well, they did another one with Millington.
Yeah,
but let's ignore that.
Ignore that one.
Let's just midfield,
goalkeeper. They need someone, either the defenders or like the defence or something defending.
Just only play with bands that reference sport or football.
Attacker or striker.
Yeah, attack. They should do one with attack.
Attack. That might be too much attack.
But I mean, in terms of this year, best album by far, closely followed. Well, as a debut, yes, but closely followed by 4 Year Strong's Analysis Paralysis, which it's just, the fact that they can be going for like 15 years and still release like fresh music is beyond me. But Retrovision, the extended edition, added I think a couple new like B-sides and a few like remasters or whatever, or renditions or something. But
it was a few extra ones
reimagined. Yeah. So, but in terms like all of that came through. The sort of perfection and
we haven't even got to the headline.
I know, and the ability that they had in that record was really shown in their performance. Like they held the stage.
Oh,
they had
easily.
Us. They just had us.
If they used half the energy they showed us, they would have got everyone's attention.
Amazing.
They took the roof off. That was amazing.
And then we go from one strong female-fronted band to another, who we went to go and see, of course, being Stand Atlantic. One main thing I remember with that show, which I will start with, it's 2. When we were doing concert bingo, and I said they're going to do Wake Up, Sit Down, Shut Up. They're going to open with it, and you went, "Are you sure?" And I said, "I'm going for it." And that intro, smashed it out of the park, mate.
Absolutely.
I was so happy. And also, one of the funniest things, I did mention this in a previous podcast, but the lead singer, who I can never remember the name of, so I do apologise, she said, "How many of you in the crowd are really gay?" And everyone went, "Woo!" And then she also said, "How many of you want to be gay? Because we make it look really fun." And I went, "Woo!" So it was a very nice and open...
Got nothing.
Bio's sick, dude. Whatever her name is, you're so cool. There's such a cool band.
Such a cool band.
And I think the thing that really stood out with me for that, because they're very popular. They have been for a while, but their sound has changed a lot. Because they played stuff like a lot from Skinny Dipping. Oh, who have we got here? Vocalist Bonnie Fraser. I knew it was Bonnie something. Bonnie Fraser. She's so cool. And presumably very gay.
Well, it was the...
Good for her.
The bit I remember was when they said, we're gonna do love songs. Anyone like, anyone been in a relationship? I wrote this love song, and now I'm single, so enjoy it. And then they played Love You Anyway, which is a really good song.
But their sound has changed so much. Now, Was Here came out this year, which is a really cracking album.
Honestly, it's so solid.
It's
not my top. There's a few in here where I'm like, no, I can skip one or two. But
I think
overall, there are some absolute bangers on here. Nosebleed and Girls are 2 of my favourites.
Yeah, the aforementioned Wake Down, Sit Up, Sit Down, Shut Up.
I prefer Wake Down, Sit Up.
Wake up, take a shit, get out of bed. What were the other ones that were on there?
Kissing Killing Cobras was live. That was so
Criminal
good.
They did. But they didn't do it with Polaris. But I love Polaris. You would hate them. They're like a
they're a bit
like
more,
a really heavy metal band.
Yeah, no, a bit much.
But they're an Australian metal band, so. but my brother loves them. Sex on the Beach,
Yeah.
killer. Like they had some cracking songs. But what's changed, because they did a couple of songs from Skinny Dipping.
Well, they did Lavender Bones is one of my favourites.
They did Lavender Bones, and that was back when they were particularly involved. And then I think they did Coffee at Midnight as well.
Oh yeah, they did do. Of course, they did Coffee at Midnight.
So they did some from back when they were like a set pop punk band. I knew I wanted to put Jurassic Park as well.
Did you forget what it was called?
No, I knew the song.
No, that was your sixth on your list.
But I was like, and I was like, I something's telling me, but I didn't know if it was popular enough.
Yeah,
that was annoying. But they played like when they were back when they were sort of like a classic pop punk band. They played some of those like that. Lavender Bones, Coffee at Midnight,
Death Wish, Pity Party.
Death Wish. That's when they
Hair Out and Hate Me Sometimes.
Because when they did Fear, when they did Pink Elephant, that was when they got into some more psychedelic and a bit more like
that
rocks.
one.
Yeah. They were sort of starting to experiment with their sound, and they took a similar route to bands like Trash Boat and Boston Manor, and a smattering of others where they got heavier. Slightly heavier in their sound. So when they did Fear, and you have Switchblade, you have Death Wish, Pity Party, Hair Out, they're a lot heavier than their previous stuff.
They are, what I've realised, about as heavy as I can take.
Yes.
That's about my limit before I go, no, take me back to indie pop, please.
And then when they did then they did Was Here, and they really doubled down on it. Some of the songs they did, I can't remember which one she started yelling with. But some,
I mean, any
I think
of
Criminal was pretty heavy. Warzone's pretty heavy. But the thing is, I like that. I'm much more, because my brothers and I grew up in the sort of heavier rock scene. We've all taken our roots.
I say in a criminal war zone there for a minute.
Yeah. We grew up.
Big bro, wasn't that bad?
We grew up in a little tiny village in Kent, and all that happened was drug muling. That's all we did. We grew up in quite a violent space. But that's why we love
for legal reasons. This is a lie.
And if you know me well enough, you'll know that's a lie. But we grew up listening to fairly, like, my older brother used to listen to a lot of Mallory Knox, which we will get to, and a couple of other heavier bands like Don Broco and sort of the modern rock scene. We all listened to that, and then we all took our own little paths. So I took the obvious pop punk easycore route, and that's fairly heavy. Easycore I will delve into, a lot of heavy metal I'll delve into, and some hardcore. And then my younger brother is a full on like metalhead, loves the heavier sound, loves that, and some big riffs. But that's what I loved about the Stand Atlantic gig, because it allowed me to let loose a little bit. And I remember specifically there being a video. I don't know if I'll be able to play it, but there's the Narnia video that I caught of you.
Oh, yeah, no, at Stand Atlantic, the Narnia video where I just disappear from view.
You just, when they start, I can't remember what song it was, and
I'm fairly sure it would have been...
Because I can't play it, sadly.
It might have been Girls, might have been Nosebleed.
But you just...
might have been Death Wish, actually.
I remember watching you and filming it, and then suddenly a guy comes in front. It was like that weird video with Scarlett Johansson's mum where she just disappears behind her. It's like some guy walked in front of you and then you were just gone, and I had no idea where you were. It was so funny, but like that was fun. Seeing you like, because I'd just been in a mosh and I was like, I'm quite tired.
I was like, are we going in? And you were like, I need to breathe and exist for a moment.
I can't breathe. And then you were like, oh well, I'll go in this one, and then you just vanished in front of me.
See, I'm a glasses wearer. I always get really paranoid about it, and then sometimes I'm in the moment. I'm like, I care not for my own life.
Fuck it.
The mosh requires sacrifice, and I accept this honour.
Buck it, we fool.
No, it was such a it was good. It was good moshing, and I also remember you saying, you were like, as long as I hear Coffee at Midnight live, I will be happy.
I was happy.
And when it came on, you were beaming. Your little smile in your chubby cheeks, just having a wonderful time.
Just because I shaved, George, that's what my face looks like.
Yes.
I'm a chubby little boy.
You're not chubby little boy. It's just I can see your cheeks for the first time properly. In
years.
Excuse you.
Yeah, true. Fair enough. Well, that was a great night. I'm really glad I did that, because my God, did I need it. I needed to let loose, as we all do.
Now, am I right in saying that you're actually the next one to let loose again, or have I got one more in between?
You've got two more in between.
Oh, God, did you go to anything live this year?
Yes, I did. It's just the next one you weren't at, so you don't get to say anything.
Good. About time.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I went to, and this is another one that made my absolute... I would say that my top 3 gigs of the year... Confetti takes number 1.
Yep.
I would say Stand Atlantic Honey Revenge takes 2, and we are about to have the bronze medal awarded on my end, at the very least. Saint Motel.
Wow.
Which you may know for such songs as My Type
and
or
End of List.
No, Sweet Talk, For Elise.
Okay, well maybe
Cold Cold Man. Move is a very good one.
Move.
As which I'm fairly sure is a Curry's advert song, which for better or for worse.
Is it?
Yeah, it's definitely been an advert.
Buy this TV. Listen to Saint Motel.
But yeah, it was such a good time. So they started off with Larkins as a warm-up act, who were fantastic. Now, I only knew all of 2 songs before I went in, and they played those 2 songs, which made me happy. Which was TV Dream, which is, I'm fairly sure, on our shared list.
I believe so.
And Are We Having Any Fun Yet? But those had No Life, which became one of my favourites. And they were just really good. That really good stage presence, very good warm up to get us to the big guys themselves. And Saint Motel are one of the craziest bands. They came on, and I didn't know this going in, and this is again on me for not preparing properly. But it was their final gig of the tour, which is always a fun one to be at when you get them. And they were doing it as an awards show. And I think what they've been doing was doing like polls on Instagram, and you could vote for songs for different categories as to what you wanted them to play.
Okay.
So they didn't have a set list. They just had a bunch of envelopes of who'd won these quizzes. So they would just open envelopes and be like, I guess we're playing this next. Which was great fun.
Bit of spontaneity to the show.
Yeah, so they'd just be like, and the award for this. They all came out in like suits and with like gold and red trims and everything, and it was all very fancy, and like, this is the award show, this is the Saint Motel Tour award show. And they went on, and it was just so much fun. It was a really nice format, and it was very refreshing to be like, it's a surprise for everyone, including the band, what's going to play next. And they had various people. They had like, oh, and now we're going to have this read out the award, or we're going to can we have a volunteer from the audience from the front row to come and read out this award? And it was like, people were really going for it and getting into it. It was such a good vibe. Everyone loves a bit of audience participation at these things.
It sounds a bit like when you get to Christmas, as we nearly are, and you get given your presents and it says from mum and dad, or from X and like your dad, who they don't know how to buy presents, is just as surprised by the gift as you are, because they had absolutely no input whatsoever. Sounds very much like that.
Yeah.
But in band Saint Motel form.
In Saint Motel form.
Yeah.
So the other fun bit was they randomly just went, and now we have our special guest friend. And I was telling you about this. I don't know if I was telling you about this. Have you seen Better Call Saul?
I have not. I just finished Breaking Bad, so
right.
I'd need to.
You'll enjoy this then at some point in the future. In Better Call Saul, there is a lawyer called Howard Hamlin, who is kind of not the antagonist by any means, but he's just
some guy.
He's a lawyer in a different law firm who is there for most of the series. And they just went, it's our friend, and I can't remember his real name. They went, it's our friend. You might know him as Howard Hamlin from Better Call Saul. And everyone was like, yay? What? And he just came on stage, read an award, went, thanks for having me, and then left. And I had no idea why. I meant to look it up and be like, do they know each other? Is this a thing? But no, they just brought him out. And having recently finished, I watched Better Call Saul and then Breaking Bad.
Oh, interesting.
I saw an interview with Giancarlo Esposito, who said if he could rewatch it, he would watch it chronologically. So seasons 1 to 5 of Better Call Saul, all of Breaking Bad, and then season 6 of Better Call Saul. So I did it in that order because I thought, why not? It's about time I watched it. I should. So I did. Fantastic. A, fantastic show. B, fantastic actor. C, fantastic band. Saint Motel, definitely. Ones I didn't know I liked as much as I did. Puzzle Pieces, and Puzzle Pieces Sisters, and the other one was Ace in the Hole. All fantastic. They didn't miss on that concert. Every song was perfect.
It just sounds like a show of surprises.
It was, and it was just great fun. And then before Nick can start talking again, I will quickly do the other one, which is the obligatory I went and saw Bastille this year, which I have been able to say for the last 4 years, basically.
Well, you are a fan.
I am a fan. This is the first time they weren't in my top 5 on Spotify, though.
What?
In my Wrapped.
That I don't believe that for a second.
Take your pick. But either way, they had it's not technically a Bastille album, but it is, but it's not. Their lead singer, Mr. Dan Smith.
First Tom Smith and now Dan Smith.
Lots of Smiths. He had his album Ampersand released, which is him doing a bunch of ballads, and it's always something and something. So, for example, you've got intros and narrators, because it's the introductory track, and then it's him being the narrator. And the whole point of this album is it's a story of him as the narrator singing songs and telling stories about these famous but often overlooked kind of like people and pairs. So there's a lot of they're very good, I will say. I've got the part 1 version. That's not what I wanted. There we go. Even Paradise Lost is, as what you might guess, is a song about Eve of Adam and Eve, but it's kind of her version, kind of, and it's very powerful and all that. And you've got Mary and Polonium. You don't get many chemistry-based songs, so I'm obviously a fan.
Yes.
But it's Mary Curie. You've got Drawbridge and the Baroness, which was fantastic to hear. I would recommend it just to hear someone go that high without having their balls clenched. It was just to speak of the vocal range of that man, like, amazing. And yeah, no, just a solid album. It was a very nice. It almost should have been a candlelit gig. It was very, very nice, very chill. Also finished really nice and early, which meant I actually, like, normally after gigs, I'm like, the next morning is like, oh my god, I need coffee, and like, and next day I was like, oh wow, it's a reasonable time to go home.
I feel okay.
It was just a really nice, fairly short set, no warm up. Just you came for Bastille, you get Bastille, lovely. Yeah, it was really good.
You can't argue with that,
Can't
can
argue
you?
with that.
I'll tell you what else you can't argue with. The next gig that I did, which you're not in.
Oh, I can go for a wee again.
You can go for a wee. I can talk about it amongst myself. While George goes and empties his balls again, it's important to remember that I have talked about this band extensively, but never in detail, because it's not a specific episode about them. But in October, I believe it was October 20th, my younger brother's birthday is in October. And obviously, I've mentioned before that all three of us are huge fans of the band Mallory Knox. We grew up on it when Signals came out in 2013 or 2012, I think. That was huge. We were all growing up. I just turned into been a teenager, I think it was around that time. And my brother was 15 and was like, man, this band is so cool. Hearing it on Kerrang radio and stuff like that. And then Asymmetry came out in 2014, which is easily their best album. I'm such a huge fan. That really cemented my love for them, and all three of us as well. Wired came out in 2017, which, while not as good, I personally think is really great. And then they had no other albums. He lied. Mikey left the band, and then they made their self-titled, and it's really bad. It's not good. I don't like it at all. But anyway, we ignore that. They broke up fairly swiftly after that as a band, so it'd been about 5 years, and we were under the presumption that we were not getting another Mallory Knox anything, frankly. Mikey left a few years, or just a year before the 2019 album came out, and that was about it. We didn't hear from them anymore. They just sort of disappeared. I think Mikey went to a different band, whose name I currently can't remember, and Mallory Knox just sort of flitted out. Anyway, we found out fairly early on in the year, or maybe even sort of late last year, that Mallory Knox are returning. What? They put up they reinstated their profile picture. They put something up on Instagram, and we were like, "Whoa, what's going on?" And it turns out that they were doing a gig or a series of gigs for the celebration of 10 years of Asymmetry, which is, of course, our favourite album. So we were like, well, we've got to fucking go. If we don't, we're going to never get this chance again. And we tied it in with my younger brother's birthday, so we all went for lunch prior and went for this full gig. And myself, my younger brother, and my older brother were all going. And then Becca, I believe, was sort of in two minds about going, but then we convinced her because we had a spare ticket for reasons. Can't really remember. And so she came anyway. And what transpired was quite possibly the single greatest gig I have ever had the joy of being involved with that's not with George, because he's coming back now. It was terrible.
I've been listening this whole time.
It's terrible. You weren't there.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
I was going to ask you, based on that last sentence, what is your top three other than that is your top one?
I would say Mallory Knox, Stand Atlantic, The Story So Far, for specific reasons that I will get to. Although Story So Far's one is very funny.
Yes.
In fact, no, I'd put Friday Pilot's Club above The Story So Far.
Would you?
I enjoyed it more. I got a lot more out of that gig, but again, I will explain. But that Mallory Knox gig was by far the most...
You were so excited.
I've never wanted to see a band more. Just because of the history that it has with not only my family, but with me as well. They were one of the first bands I really got into. I remember listening to all their singles come out on Kerrang radio when I was revising for exams and stuff. And, like, they're just a really good all-round British rock band. They don't do any... They're not... They can't really be classified or pigeonholed into any specific subgenre. They're just a damn good rock band.
They do what they do, and it's whatever they want, and it works.
And they do it so well, apart from that album that we mentioned that was bad.
What, the one you don't mention?
The one that we don't mention.
Yeah, apart from that one.
Yeah, apart from that one. We don't talk about that one. But everything else, they played basically 90% of the songs from Asymmetry. Opened with Ghost in the Mirror, which is a fucking banger. Absolute tune. They had a couple... I think they played one song from Wired that I can't remember. I think it was Better Off Without You. That was amazing. They had a couple from Signals. They closed off with Lighthouse, which I obviously love. They played Sugar, which was the last single they did together as a band, which was just absolutely sensational. But all of Asymmetry was in there, and I think some of the songs, they did all three of the first songs in one go. So they did Ghost in the Mirror, Getaway, Dying to Survive, all in one go. And those three are some of the best songs they've ever done. They did a full performance of She Took Him to the Lake, which is a 7.5 minute song. They did the whole thing in one go, which was amazing. They did, I think, a version of Resuscitate as well, which was in Signals. They did Lonely Hours, and they did all of their best songs, and one that I can't remember. I think they may have done Maps, but I think that was a special. I can't remember. It might have been one of them. Beggars they did. Wake Up was easily the best song of that gig, just because it was so goddamn heavy. That was a proper pit song, and it was excellent. I simply have no notes for that gig apart from my older brother did a similar thing to you, where I got a video of him and he just disappeared. But to have that experience with both my brothers, it kind of cemented that idea that we will always have something in common, you know, like we'll grow up, and we have grown up, and we do have our differences. Like we all like our specific types of music, but my older brother and I are very into our films and our media, whereas my younger brother couldn't give a shit.
You've always got the centre of your Venn diagram between them.
Mallory Knox. And to know that initially we thought we might not get to see them because they got sold out because it was so popular, and then they announced that they were doing one more extra gig on the Sunday. And thankfully, my younger brother caught the tickets when he did, so we all got to go. And it was, I simply adored that gig, and I adore the band. And I think that I don't know if they'll do any new music, but the fact that I got to see them live one more time, having thought that they would never come back, I can always have that. And I have their t-shirt at home. I have their tour t-shirt for that.
Absolutely.
Which was really nice.
That's definitely one to get.
Becca didn't even realise she was going, and then she bought a hoodie worth like 50 quid. So that just if that can happen, if you can be convinced to go to the gig and buy their merch, you've probably done all right. But it was an excellent gig. And then within like 2 days of that, fact 3 days, because I went to see them on Sunday and then I came to see you on Wednesday. We have my penultimate. No, I think this might have been my last gig of the year because I've
only a handful more after.
But this one I think was more for me than it was for you.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
And so this was when The Story So Far said they were coming down to play in the UK. Now, everyone knows, especially you, how much I love this band. I adore them. And their music still stands very strong. You and I both love Letterman a lot. That their new album, I Want to Disappear, was easily one of the best of the year for me. A lot of the songs they played, particularly ending on White Shores, I think was a really, really good idea. The way they ended it, however, was particularly strange.
Very. Very
strange. Now, I have always said that Parker Cannon as a bloke, very good singer, very good performer, but he's not the most charismatic man in the world. I think he left it at home.
I think that is the largest understatement of 2024.
I'm trying to be nice because I really like them.
I really liked them too, and they were really good live, but if... You know when we were saying about how like Honey Revenge had all of that energy, and how we were saying that the Happy Fits had all that energy, and how we had like Young Culture and Broadside as the warm-up acts get everyone going, and how at the beginning I was like, Robert Grace, this guy I'd never seen, was amazing. And when The Story So Far came on, it was like, that man is about as charismatic as the microphone he is using. The man can sing, don't get me wrong, but he stood there.
It was incredibly
strange. It was so stoic.
He wore his like quintessential raincoat inside. He had hair that looked like it was cut from a baking bowl, and he was just, I don't know, a very blank slate. And it's sad because the actual band was so good, but what really made that gig, and the reason why I love it so much, is the crowd. Because holy shit, I have never been in a crowd so lively.
Now I'm gonna do a little bit of a pre-bit here. The warm-up was Angel Dust, but we unfortunately nigh on missed them just because you were coming from further away.
I'd have to drive again.
You had to drive back to Southampton for this, so we went a bit later on so we could make sure we could have a break and chat as friends.
Actually catch up. Yeah.
But we got there, and I remember we got there, and you knew that this wasn't a gig for me, and I knew this was a gig for you, and we got there, and you were very polite about the whole thing, and you said, it's okay, we can stand near the back or towards the side, like, we don't have to go into the thick of it, like, we're here for the music, it's fine. And as we got there, there was like a really big pocket of space in front of us, and well, there's no point of hiding at the back when there's an opportunity to get a little bit further forward, and we went there. And at that point, Angel Dust finished, because we'd been there for the last half of the song, and then more people left to go like to the bathroom or to the bar or whatever. And we went, well, now there's more space. Let's go a bit further. And as we got there, there was then another chunk, and we got a bit further. And by the end of it, we were three from the front.
I know.
And we were like, we didn't want to be here, but we're here.
We just kept shuffling through,
and we kept going, and nobody stopped us, and there was ample gaps. And we didn't. I don't think we were particularly rude. There was no one behind us who was too short that wouldn't be able to see.
We didn't push. We just kept walking.
It was taking steps
and
going forward.
And that started it off really well. And I know that there's a story you'll want to tell.
I was going to say, like, the crowd were having... We'd been accepted into the crowd like a Trojan horse when Nick goes into the mosh pits and then disappears like a happy, sweaty boy.
Well, the first song they played, I believe, was Things I Can't Change, which was the opening track of What You Don't See. And it was a fairly gentle start. No, they didn't. They did start with that. Proper Dose came later, because they ticked it off almost immediately. Yeah. In fact, no, I have my goddamn thing for it.
Your concert bingo was fantastic.
So I said they'd start with Proper Dose, which they did. Mm-hmm. And then because I did 5 that I knew they'd play, and then 5 extras to see how many I get right, and I got 7 in total. So they had Proper Dose, Out of It, Letterman, Big Blind, All the Same, You're Still in My Way, and High Regard were the ones that played. I Really Want to Take Me As You Please, and Heavy Gloom, and then Nerve was just a song I remember really liking. But they started off with Proper Dose, and for anyone who's heard it, it's a decent song, it's fast, it's quick, it's got a lot of heft to it, but it's not very long. And obviously it's about his drug abuse in the past. So we thought, it's not, you need a couple of songs to get people going. Angel Dust was more on the heavier side, so I didn't think people were they'd be too tired or just hadn't gotten into it yet. People from that crowd somehow found a way to pit uncontrollably to Proper Dose by the Story so far. And I have never been in such a volatile mosh pit. I lost a shoe.
You did. It was returned to you in between songs, and someone just held a shoe up like a trophy from war. Like
yelled shoe, and I was like shoe, and then everyone started cheering to say that I got. And like, I remember you saying you had a video of me where I had the biggest grin on my face. I can't remember exactly what song was. I think it might have been when they played Framework, because that was the one I was like, I really want them to play this because it's my favourite song by them. And somehow they got it. It was in their list. And I just was like, right, I am jumping into this. And I crowd surfed for the first time. You did.
You got a crowd surfing.
I'd heard a lot.
Very impressive.
I'd heard a lot of stories about crowd surfing, and I was kind of hesitant, but I was like, you know what, fuck it. This is the band I have come to see. I need to get involved in this. But one of the pictures you did show me, it was like Find the Me, because it was so blurry, but I'd just come out of a pit.
I'm trying to see if I
like,
can find
where
it.
Is he?
But it's just a game of find the happy sweaty boy. I mean, that one I have found.
There's the happy sweaty boy.
Happy sweaty boy.
And it was so good. I mean, the encore at the end was weird, mainly because there wasn't one.
Yeah.
They played what they said. They said we're going to play White. We're going to play one more song, and it's definitely the last song. It is the last song, and everyone's like, "Hey, we've heard all that before." And then they played White Shores, which is an objectively great song.
And then they left.
And then they went backstage, and everyone was like, "Woo, one more!" The classic spiel.
Yeah.
And eventually, we stopped. People started coming back on stage, and it was the sound crew. So we thought, oh, maybe they're just setting. So then we started chanting it again, and then eventually, within about 10 minutes, the house lights came up, and everyone started leaving. And everyone around us was like, "What is going on?" I know they said it, and fair enough, but like everyone, why? Why is that? Why is that going on? So I just thought that was really strange. I don't know what your opinion of it was.
Now, I tend to find that bands that don't want to do an encore tend to make a bit more of a joke out of it. Or they'll do an encore having made a joke out of it. I remember seeing Oh Wonder a couple of years back, and they went, right, we're going to go and walk back off stage, you're going to shout, and then after about 20 seconds we're going to come back and then do an encore. Because the last time, and they actually said, they once tried to not do an encore, because they get a set amount of time to perform for. An encore does just eat into your time, because you have to leave, give the crowd something to shout at, and then come back. It's just, it's wasted time. So I can understand not doing one, but yeah. So they were like, they tried to play through to the end, played their big ones, and then went, right, that's us done. And then everyone still went one more song. So people are going to do it no matter what. So I think the fact that he went, if he hadn't said anything, I think people would have just been like, oh, okay. But the fact he went, this is definitely the last one, everyone was like, oh, okay, he's being sarcastic. As I say, charisma of a microphone. Rolling a nat 1 in a persuasion check. Like it just didn't work. Everyone thought he was joking because he was fairly unreadable behind his very big coat.
It was huge. But
it was a good gig.
I think as a gig, I really enjoyed it. I can tick it off and say I've seen them.
Yes.
And you got that shirt for me as well, because I was very poor at that time.
Well, you bought the shirt. You paid with the money back. You still bought the shirt.
I did, but it was just before I'd gotten paid, and I was like, I don't know if I have enough to get this shirt. And George was like, oh, I'll just get it for you, and then you pay me back when you get paid. And I was like, it's just so nice. And it's a great shirt, and I should have brought it, to be honest. But that sort of summarised my year of gigs. Now, I didn't go to as many as you.
Right, I'll whistle stop through my last ones because there's not many. I saw Ryan Mack again at the end of October with Robert Grace as warm-up. It was nigh identical. I won't give too many more notes. I saw Glass Animals in early November with Neve and some friends, and we had a lovely time. They had the Big Moon, who I've seen before, as their warm-up, who were once again very impressive. And then Glass Animals were on, and very impressive. It's hard not to be impressed at the O2, the O2, because it's It's the O2. Anyone on there, you've got to have the stage presence to pull it off, and they all did. Anyone up there did. So, fantastic. The set design was really good, by
Was
the
it?
way. It was just all, like, spaceships and sci-fi and wonderfulness. Was really good, but I won't dwell too much.
All I saw was that on your notes, this was where I read Neve and Band Gang, and I read it as...
You read it wrong. Well,
Neve.
let the audience do that. Don't bring the mood down. But the main issue with Glass Animals, and the reason that it's not getting more of a section to talk about, is unfortunately there were due to be tube strikes, and then there weren't.
Yes, you told me.
But all basically that happened was, and Southwestern is not my favourite rail company because their trains are at bad times if you want to gig in London. So we actually had to skip the end in order to be able to get a train home that didn't get us home at like 3 a.m. So the end, and we've looked up the set list, and they are all songs I would have loved to have heard live. Is the issue.
That is unfortunate.
There was a fair chunk of my bingo sheet would have been dinged at the end, but unfortunately couldn't see it.
Rules are rules.
Rules are rules. And then my last gig was towards the end of November. I saw We Are Scientists live, who was more of a band for my friend Ed and Ewan, who have seen them a few times each before. I have to say, they were very good. But I didn't know them as well. This was one I'd done so many concerts from the beginning of September until the end of November. It was concert heavy, and I had kind of truthfully lost steam. So I hadn't done my homework as well, and I loved them, and there are some fantastic songs. But I won't dwell too much. It was very good. It was back in engine rooms, same as Story So Far. And
better.
And well, I don't know if it was better. It was a very different vibe. It was very much a case of like everyone, like the average age of the audience, I would say, had changed quite dramatically. I would say We Are Scientists definitely had a swayed towards the older side.
I can believe that.
Whereas the Story So Far, believe it or not, I would say were more of our age, if not younger.
Yes, I agree.
So it was a very different vibe. Obviously, we've spoken about how pitty and volatile the pits were. Volatile in a good way. I don't think it was unsafe.
I think mosh pits are actually far safer than people give them credit for.
I think it depends on the band. Don't do a Wombats mosh pit.
Why was that murderous?
I was at Community Festival last year before, one of them.
Yeah.
Wombats were playing, and we weren't even in the mosh pit. They just started a heave and just pushed over half the crowd.
Jeez.
And we were just like, you're all knobs. You're all like 17-year-olds who have lost your formative years to COVID, and you're all knobs. Now go away and let us listen to music. It was less fun, but apparently they can get very rowdy in Wombats ones. But it depends on the band. If you know the band and you trust that you are of similar ilk to people who will listen to them, then chances are they'll probably be as nice as you are, and that's up for you to gamble on whether or not you think you're nice yourself as a person. But Story So Far, I would say it was towards the angrier side of mosh pits this year. I would say I preferred the Stand Atlantic Honey Revenge mosh pits.
Yeah, I agree.
As a vibe. But
overall,
I didn't feel unsafe in either.
No. Yeah, and I even got my shoe back.
You did get your shoe back.
Thank God. Well, I will say that you did far better than I did. I need to do more gigs this year.
Well, that's
or next year when this comes out.
That's going to be that can be your New Year's resolution if you wish.
Go to more live music.
Speaking of, we've already got at least one booked.
We definitely have one booked.
I've got 4 booked.
I will plan to book a second, which is 2 days before the one that is already booked.
Yeah, we might book one for the one after, and there might be one in between. We don't know yet.
But we've got the one that we're both doing is Home Team Broadside State Champs.
Yes,
which is going to be one
good.
hell of a gig. If I can get tickets to the 4 Year Strong, which has Koyo and Shoreline, I will be going to that. Whether that's one you join for, I am unsure. But I know
I can't remember because they're in Southampton and they're in London.
Yeah, so I think we were trying to figure out what would be best. But then there's a few others that I'm sure will come out throughout the year.
I've got Frank Turner
Yes.
for his 3,000th show.
I remember you
in
telling
Ali
me this,
Pali
yeah.
in February, which should be very good, and that's going to be pure vibes, if nothing else. Or even though I've not really paid attention to his new album, sorry, Frank. It just hasn't hit me. I've had a lot going on. But any of his older stuff will be fantastic because I love all of that. And then Neve and I have also got Landon Conrath.
Oh, yes!
Yes, he's doing one. You know, I said we went to go and see Confetti at the Grace. We're going to see Landon Conrath at the Grace.
Wow.
So, very nice, small, intimate venue. Should be lovely. And what I didn't say is the Grace has an adjoining building, which is it's the same building, but just it's under a different name called The Garage, which is where we went to go and see Tones and I, actually.
Oh.
So it's the same building, it's just the Grace is small, the Garage is bigger.
Yeah.
That's it. If you wanted to, you could fuse them and get rid of the adjoining walls and whatever.
Get the Grace.
It's nice having two different sizes for different size bands.
No, absolutely.
So we're seeing Landon Conrath in the Grace, and then we're seeing Almost Monday in the Garage. And if you don't know who they are, which you don't from the way your face absolutely didn't move, I'll send you some songs. But they are fantastic.
I was just completely...
There
sorry,
was-
I was really zoned out with
That
what
was
you were listening to.
properly nothing behind the eyes.
I
there for a
didn't. I did
second.
not react at all.
I'll
I feel like I probably have heard of Almost Monday.
you probably they're very like poppy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Never mind, I've just seen Dive. Yeah, I remember that album.
Yep.
Well, you know what? I think we've done pretty well this year.
I think we've done pretty well.
And if we're going to sum up this this whole show in one concise piece, the live show has been a resounding success.
Depends if this is actually how long it's been, and this is the second recording. So we've cleared 2 hours.
We've cleared about just under 2 hours.
So
That's a lot of this.
Truthfully, we should really say that the best thing is if you've managed to get this far. Well done.
If you've listened to the whole of the live show 2024, you deserve a ice cold Pepsi, cherry Pepsi, sponsored by Fanta.
If you say so. I was going to say go back to your Christmas and do more Christmas.
Yeah,
things than this.
don't listen to this on Christmas Day. It will come out on Christmas Day, which means I have a lot of editing to do.
Well, I mean, or you just do it as a New Year's special, because that could be quite fun as a New Year's of like, hey, it's New Year's Day, New Year's Eve.
I could do a New Year's Eve,
which would be really awkward because the intro you did is it's Christmas, so
it's Christmas. Well, who cares? Who cares?
Whenever you're listening to this,
yes, thank you very much. It's been a phenomenal year for the page and the podcast. Things have massively popped off.
It's been wonderful to watch it grow,
as the kids say. You were on an episode. This year. Loads of people have been on episodes. I've got so much booked up for next year.
I'm very excited at your bookings for your bands, especially.
Yeah,
that you've been telling me.
Yeah.
So stay tuned. Foreshadowing is a literary device.
Foreshadowing has always been. But
You're an always has been.
Yeah, that's me. I'm getting old. But I want to say thank you to you for doing this with me.
You're very welcome.
It's been a lot of fun.
If you think you can do a better job than me, probably tell PunkStance.
Tell me.
Do it next year.
Tell me if you think
make this a tradition.
Make it so we have people, like millions of people. We'll just get everyone who likes music. We'll get everyone with individual microphones. You know, like when they do on like...
I was about to do like a set reading.
Yeah. Or like what they do in Minecraft Hermitcraft, where they have like 50 different streamers. And then they
sure. I was going for like a set reading where you got like everyone reading the script and like, you know...
That's
a table.
That's a better
you went
version.
For Minecraft streams.
Hermitcraft. I love Hermitcraft.
Big up Mumbo Jumbo. If Mumbo Jumbo or Green are a listener, I've been watching you for years.
Oh, we love Mumbo. He's finishing off Hermitcraft 10. I need to get watching that because I haven't started yet. I think I got 2 episodes in and then fell asleep.
Boo. So, to be fair, he does have a voice for it.
Yeah. Big up Mumbo Jumbo. But yeah, thank you very much to everyone listening. George, do you have any final comments regarding anything we've spoken about and/or the Podstance vibe?
Yay, PunkStance!
Yay.
I'm not sure what you wanted me to say there.
I don't know.
I've had a great time. Thank you for having me. Thank you for staying this weekend.
It's my pleasure.
Pizza with us.
Yeah.
Yeah. As I say, if thank you anyone for listening, and I apologise for talking so much. Blame Nick for not going to more concerts.
Don't apologise. It's good.
Oh, I don't know.
I talk too much in these things. Think of yourself as my guest for this episode, even though I'm in your house.
Well, I'm on your podcast. I think that trumps it.
Yeah, I don't know. You do live here.
Yeah.
I slept on your sofa. It was great. I felt like I was crashing.
There was an air mattress, but you just went, no.
Your sofa's small, and I like feeling like a little cozy bear.
Next time on PunkStance.
Next time, we will be in the new year. This will be the last one I do for the year.
Enjoy your holiday.
Thank you.
Don't work too hard.
I won't. Hopefully, and there's lots of stuff planned for next year. So much. You're going on another episode.
Am I?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good to know.
If it's
What's it going to be about?
It will be the live show 2025.
Oh, I didn't know. I thought you might try and recruit some others.
Well, you'll always be in it.
Oh, okay.
Because we'll always go to gigs. But it means
True.
if other people I go to gigs with, or if there are other people around the world who go to gigs and want to talk about them specifically, then we can, and we'll just do a massive Discord. But then it's not really a live show.
I mean, it's a podcast that's being pre-recorded. I'm not sure the first live of the live show.
I kind of like the irony of it being called the live show.
I am experiencing it live, therefore it is live.
It's live for us, then yeah, but not for these people.
Give it 5-10 years, and when you're world famous, and you can do it live to many people.
That would be really cool.
Or maybe next year you live stream it on New Year's Eve to everyone.
That actually is a really good idea.
If there's a market for it, if people want to hear,
I could go on
chat a load of shite.
We could do a Twitch live stream where we play Guitar Hero and only talk about bands we've seen.
Or we pick a different game because I can't play Guitar Hero.
Or we do a Pokemon Soul Link and we only.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Minecraft. Oh.
Or we could do a Minecraft Hermitcraft.
By the end of the session, we have to have made a song in no blocks.
Or we have to have built a house where we keep all our instruments. There's got
to be a musical.
We keep building until we don't know. We have to build a stage, and then in the time that we talk about it, we have to build a stage.
No, I feel like so you could probably cut here. I don't know how much anyone wants to hear about this, but we could pre-make a world, make a stage, make a stadium, and then people log in and then hear us do it live, but in Minecraft.
I know. Well, we have to build the stage first. Well, there you go. That's the plan for next year. But there's a lot to come, particularly me. And I'm very excited to get involved with everyone who's getting on the show. There's so many, like anyone who's around. Obviously, the rules do apply to everyone. Anyone and anyone can come on the show. So please, if you're interested, do get in touch.
What are the rules? That you have to vaguely like music.
You have to vaguely like music and
be able to
talk
about that music for an amount of time.
And have at least one niche anecdote that relates to the songs that you listen to. Because otherwise you could just go, oh yeah, I liked
Even
it.
if it's about a man who thinks himself as a tambourine.
Even if it's about a man called Burger who's in a band, or what was it, Babyface Killer. Even if you're Babyface Killer who personifies a tambourine or becomes a tambourine, well, whoever you are. If you're a goat,
whether you're the person who found Nick's shoe in a mosh pit.
If that was you, thank you. I needed that. If you're,
I wouldn't carry you home. No offense.
No. If you're someone if you heard yak for a living, and you like songs, then talk to me. If you're a professional parapenter. It's someone who goes, like...
Who parapents?
Parapents. The parachutes.
Oh, yeah,
It's a bit like that. You parapenter. Yeah. If you ride jet skis and you have those weird inflatable bananas, when you go on holiday and you sit on the bananas, but you're actually the person driving the jet ski, then shout me a thing and I'll talk to you about that, because that sounds really cool.
Do you just want an excuse to be invited out somewhere nice on holiday to go parapenting and jet skiing?
Someone take me to Cyprus so I can go parapenting and jet skiing. Someone do that and we can talk about it.
And then you can make it a tax write-off.
Yeah, then I can make my company pay for it. If I get a company card, the PunkStance. I have thought when I came in and said, "What did you say to the punklings?" I might call them punk caboos.
No, that's Pokemon.
No,
get sued by Nintendo.
That's Pump Caboo, not Punk Caboo. My punk boos. Good. Thank you everyone for listening.
Someone find a better name and then email Nick.
What do I call you all? What I got Game Grumps call
George.
Game Grumps call their nice.
Yeah.
Game Grumps call their little fans the Lovelies, which I think is really nice.
Aww.
But I want to know, I don't want to call you punkies or little punk boos or pumpkins.
You could go pumpkins.
Pumpkins. My little pumpkins.
Yeah. But then you have to get really big at Halloween.
Well,
You have to start doing Halloween
we'll
specials.
have to do a Halloween special. I'd call it Mosh Ween.
You keep brainstorm.
I'm gonna wean off those jokes now.
Yeah, no, close us out. We can brainstorm these later. We've been trying to close out for nearly 10 minutes.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. I'm not gonna edit any of this.
Oh no.
Even when we went off and had a wee. So
Oh no.
I'm gonna listen to what you had to say. But thank you everyone so much for listening. It's been an absolute pleasure doing this show for the past year. I know I had a bit of a break in the middle, but I am back and I'm raring to go. So there we go. I'm ready, like SpongeBob is all the time when he goes to work. How can you be so excited to go to work? Like, come on.
He loves his job.
Good for him. I fucking don't.
What, if this was your job, you'd love that?
That's different, George.
Someone give him money to do that.
Pay me!